After Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris like a drum in November, Democrats needed a reset. They needed to reconnect with the middle of the country, middle America. They needed to reconnect with them, not repel them. And what better way to do that than to carry the torch for a deported illegal alien gangbanger who they want undeported immediately?
I am here in El Salvador with a group of House Democrats advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
We also had the opportunity to meet with U.S. Embassy officials to express our concerns about the treatment of Kilmar Ansari and the hundreds of others who have been illegally imprisoned in El Salvador.
We went to make sure that we could advocate for the release of Abrego Garcia.
In a dramatic rush, 4 House Democrats, Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia, Maxine Dexter, and Yassamin Ansari, traveled to El Salvador to check on Mr. Abrego Garcia, who is being held at the CCOT Supermax prison amidst an ongoing legal battle over whether he must be returned. Joining me now is Arizona Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari. Congresswoman, thank you very much for being here. We're going to see where this legal process takes this, as I said the other night, and I understand your view on that point. But what was your point in traveling to El Salvador? Senator Van Hollen had just been there.
So to me, there is nothing more American than due process and the rule of law. The fact that Donald Trump is defying a 9-0 Supreme Court order that has said very clearly that the United States government must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is extremely, extremely important. And the fact that the president continues to defy that Supreme Court order. To me, this is also a bipartisan issue. We have had a conservative-leaning Supreme Court say that he must be returned, a Reagan-appointed judge say that this should be shocking to every American, and also Joe Rogan, who has said that due process is one of the foundations of our freedom. So I want to make sure that the president abides by the law and actually follows the law.
So just so I understand, I understand your position, but you went to El Salvador because of Joe Rogan, and you think that your trip to El Salvador would somehow deliver due process? And what you think is due process for Mr. Abrego Garcia?
I believe that the president needs to follow the law in this case, and so far he has not done so.
Yeah.
If I could speak,
Congresswoman. Yeah.
Unfortunately, when the president is not following the law, it's very important for members of Congress.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
I think that
we're talking over each other. Let me just ask a question, then you can answer. Okay. Let me ask a question, then you can answer. Sorry, it's annoying for the viewers. So again, you traveled to all the way to El Salvador. And there are obviously huge problems in Arizona right now. There's huge problems still with dealing with smuggling of drugs and individuals and all the carnage that left behind. But you went to El Salvador to basically make a political point. I mean, Van Hollen had just been there and just checked on the individual in question, and he was okay. You would admit that he was okay, correct?
So we actually went with the lawyer of the family, who was very, very grateful. The family themselves put out a statement to say that they are grateful that we went because they are worried that the president is trying to brush this case under the rug. The president made very clear in the Oval Office he has no plans to follow the Supreme Court, and so we are not going to be the last ones to go to El Salvador and demand that the United States government take action. My constituents asked me to do this. Over the last 2 weeks, there's no issue that we have gotten more calls about, more messages about than this issue, because I represent a very diverse community, and people are concerned that if this can happen to someone without due process, tomorrow it can happen to a U.S. citizen, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court also is concerned about. So we will continue to advocate for this, and we will continue to advocate for the rule of law.
Yeah. I know a little bit about the Supreme Court and how that works there. And, the word facilitate was, again, we'll see how this all works out. And I don't know how it's ultimately going to come down. But I am very interested in Democrats caring about due process for illegal aliens. What process do you think is still due an individual who 2 courts found had reasonable belief to believe he had an affiliation with MS-13, who his wife initially said had scratched her and caused a bruising on her body? What process would make you feel like the Constitution and our framers' understanding of it would be fulfilled?
So, Laura, you and I can disagree on, this individual in particular. I'm not here to really advocate for one person. That needs to happen in court. No evidence has actually ever been presented.
You went to El Salvador. Now you're saying it's not about him? Of course it's about him.
Due process.
You went to El Salvador for a political stunt, and now you're saying it's not about him.
It is about this case. Laura, it is about the rule of law. This is a bipartisan issue. It transcends partisan politics. That's why a conservative-leaning Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump must facilitate the return of this individual. This is very dangerous. We are turning into an authoritarian country, and there are Americans from all across the political spectrum who are deeply concerned about this. Again, my office has not received more calls about any other issue since I have been a congresswoman than this one, tariffs being the second one, and the lack of real logical economic policy. But the issue of due process, no, these are the economy. When we had a town hall the other night, this is the issue.
All right,
and the economy is a mess as well, unfortunately, under this administration. So
before we go, Congresswoman, also in Maryland, I know American citizens and crimes committed against them might not be a top priority. It is for this show. An illegal alien from Guatemala was just charged with his girlfriend's murder in Maryland, same state, of course, Mr. Abrego Garcia is from. She was missing for 2 weeks, mother of 2 young kids. Police found her buried in a forest. Do you know about this story? Do your constituents care about those victims? And do you intend on calling that family, since Maryland residents are obviously a concern in some way, shape, or form for you and all the people of your state?
I am appalled by any violence that takes place in this country. As a former city official, I have a very strong pro-public safety record, and that's why I believe in the rule of law, and that's why this case is so important. I think these questions are a distraction from the main issue, which is that Donald Trump is defying the Supreme Court of the United States, and every American should be concerned about this.
Congresswoman, I know you can't mean that, and I'm not trying to play gotcha here. I know you don't
every
mean
American,
that American
every
citizens
American should
are distractions.
No,
their victims aren't distractions.
You are changing the subject. Today, we are here to talk about the lack of due process for an individual who was illegally deported from this country. That is the subject of this interview.
Have not,
any other act of violence.
But Congresswoman, I've given you just so everyone understands.
Appalling.
Yeah, well, the violence committed by illegal immigrants against innocent Americans and legal immigrants has been appalling.
It is devastating.
Absolutely appalling.
Any violence,
and I wish there was one moment where Democrats acted like they cared about that. Well, apparently it's all collateral damage to Democrats who sat by with the open border. Yeah.
Right now we are worried about the constitutional crisis.
Right. Oh, the Constitution?
We are worried about the constitutional crisis and the lack of this president following the Supreme Court. I'm sure you believe in the Supreme Court and you believe in the rule of law in this country.
Were you worried when I know this is the progressive way of dealing with interviews where you just, I'm not trying to talk over you. I'm actually trying to get a question answered. I asked you a simple question. What process is due Mr. Abrego Garcia in the United States that you believe he has not received or could receive if he's undeported, which is the Democrats' priority? Undeport him, bring him back here. What process do you want him to receive that would make you happy and feel good? Could he ever be deported?
It's very clear. The Supreme Court says return him, and in court we can have a discussion about what action should be taken.
Yeah.
This administration admitted they made a mistake.
He doesn't matter to you.
This administration admitted that they made a mistake.
I don't think he matters to you,
Mr. Garcia.
I think
this is a fact, Laura. Unfortunately, you're not sticking to the facts of the case, which is that
I know the facts. Actually,
he made a mistake.
I've been very clear on the facts. Yeah. Well, Congresswoman, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you back.
I believe in the Supreme Court.
But you don't. Right. But if he's, I will just say this on the show, and you can come back. Just wait. Take a breath. If he comes back, let's say he is undeported, and the Democrats happy about that. If he's undeported, he will be deported from the United States. That will make you miserable. Correct? That'll set off a whole new firestorm, because what you care about is an illegal immigrant's rights to be here ad infinitum.
This is a union
you don't want him
member, a
deported.
person
That's
with
the
a
real
U.S.
story.
citizen, wife.
Yeah.
This is a person who the Supreme Court has said needs to be facilitated back to the United States. That's a fact.
We got it. We got it. You will never support the deportation of this individual. That is the truth. Congresswoman, we appreciate it. I do appreciate you coming on tonight.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.